room 203. I'm going to read from Matilda again, and this chapter is called The Second Miracle. So we had the first miracle, and then we're going to read the second miracle. Matilda did not join the rush to get out of the classroom. After the other children had disappeared, she remained at her desk, quiet and thoughtful. She knew she had to tell somebody about what happened with the glass. She couldn't possibly keep a gigantic secret like that bottled up inside of her. What she needed was just one person, one wise and sympathetic grown-up who could help her to understand the meaning of this extraordinary happening. Neither her mother nor her father would be of any use at all. If they believed her story, and it was doubtful that they would most certainly fail to realize what an astounding event it was that had taken place in the classroom that afternoon. On the spur of the moment, Matilda decided that the one person she would like to confide in was Miss Honey. Matilda and Miss Honey were now the only two left in the classroom. Miss Honey had seated herself at her table and was rifling through some papers. She looked up and said, "Well, Matilda, aren't you going to go outside with the others?" Matilda said, "Please, may I talk to you for a moment?" "Of course you may. What's troubling you?" "Something very peculiar has happened to me, Miss Honey." Miss Honey became instantly alert. Ever since the two disastrous meetings she had had recently about Matilda, the first with headmistress, the second with the dreadful Mr. and Mrs. Wormwood, Miss Honey had been thinking a great deal about this child and wondering how she could help her. And now, here was Matilda sitting in the classroom with a curiously exalted look on her face and asking if she could have a private talk. Miss Honey had never seen her look so wide-eyed and peculiar before. "Yes, Matilda, tell me what has happened to you that's so peculiar." "Miss Trunchbull isn't going to expel me, is she?" Matilda asked. "Because it wasn't me who put that creature in that jug of water. I promise you it wasn't." "I know it wasn't," Miss Honey said. "Am I going to be expelled?" "I think not," Miss Honey said. "The headmistress simply got a little overexcited. That's all." "Good," Matilda said, "but that isn't what I want to talk to you about." "What do you want to talk to me about, Matilda?" "I want to talk to you about the glass of water and the creature in it. You saw it spilling all over Miss Trunchbull, didn't you?" "I did indeed." "Well, Miss Honey, I didn't touch it. I never went near it." "I know you didn't," Miss Honey said. "You heard me tell the headmistress that it couldn't have possibly been you." But it was me, Miss Honey." "That's exactly what I want to talk to you about." Miss Honey paused and looked carefully at the child. "I don't think I quite follow you," she said. "Well, I got so angry at being accused of something that I hadn't done that I made it happen." "You made what happen, Matilda?" "I made the glass tip over." "I still don't quite understand what you mean," Miss Honey said gently. "I did it with my eyes," Matilda said. "I was staring at it and wishing it to tip, and then my eyes went all hot and funny, and some sort of power came out of them, and the glass just toppled over." Miss Honey continued to look steadily at Matilda through her steel-rimmed spectacles, and Matilda looked back at her just as steadily. "I'm still not following you. Do you mean you actually willed the glass to tip over?" "Yes," Matilda said, "with my eyes." Miss Honey was silent for a moment. She did not think Matilda was meaning to tell a lie. It was more likely she was simply allowing her vivid imagination to run away with her. "You mean you were sitting where you are now and you told the glass to topple over, and it did?" "Something like that, Miss Honey, yes." "If you did that, then it is just about the greatest miracle a person has ever performed since the time of Jesus." "I did, Miss Honey, I did it." "It is extraordinary," thought Miss Honey, "how often small children have flights of fancy like this." She decided to put an end to it as gently as possible. "Could you possibly do it again?" she asked, not unkindly. "I don't know, but I think I might be able to." Miss Honey moved the now empty glass to the middle of the table. "Should I put water in it?" "Well, I don't think it matters," Matilda said. "Very well then, go ahead and tip it over." "It may take some time." "Take all the time you want," Miss Honey said. "I'm in no hurry." And here's Miss Honey. Let's see what she does. Matilda, sitting on the second row about 10 feet away from Miss Honey, put her elbows on the desk, cupped her face in her hands, and this time she gave the order right at the beginning. "Tip, glass, tip," she ordered, but her lips didn't move and she made no sound. She simply shouted the words inside of her head. And now she concentrated the whole of her mind and her brain and her will into her eyes. And once again, much more quickly than before, she felt the electricity gathering, the power was beginning to surge, and the hotness was coming into her eyeballs. And then the millions of tiny little invisible arms with hands on them were shooting out towards the glass, and without making any sound at all, she kept on shouting inside her head for the glass to go over. And she saw a wobble, and then it tilted, and then it toppled right over and fell with a tinkle on the tabletop, not 12 inches from Miss Honey's folded arms. Miss Honey's mouth dropped open. Her eyes stretched up wide, and you could see the whites all around. She didn't say a word. She couldn't. The shock of seeing the miracle performed had struck her dumb. She gaped at the glass, leaned well away from it as though it might be dangerous, and then slowly she lifted her head and looked at Matilda. She saw the child white in the face, as white as paper, trembling all over, eyes glazed, staring straight ahead and seeing nothing. The whole face was transfigured. Eyes wide and bright, she was sitting there speechless, quite beautiful, in a blaze of silence. Miss Honey waited, trembling a little to herself and watching the child as she slowly stirred herself into consciousness. And then suddenly, click, went into her face the look of almost sapphiric calm. "I'm all right," she said and smiled. "I'm quite all right, Miss Honey, so don't be alarmed." Here's a picture. "You seem so far away," Miss Honey whispered, awestruck. "Oh, I was. I was flying past the stairs on silver wings," Matilda said. "It was wonderful." Miss Honey was still gazing at the child in absolute wonderment, as though she were the creation, the beginning of the world, the first morning. "It went much quicker this time," Matilda said. "It's not possible," Miss Honey was gasping. "I don't believe it. I simply don't believe it." She closed her eyes and kept them closed for quite a while, and then she opened them again, and it seemed as though she had gathered herself together. "Would you like to come back and have tea at my cottage?" she asked. "I'd love that," Matilda said. "Good. Gather up your things. I'll meet you outside in a couple of minutes. You won't tell anyone about this, will you? This thing I can do, Miss Honey?" "I wouldn't dream of it," Miss Honey said. We're going to stop here, and we don't have very many chapters left. It's getting good, isn't it? See you later.